even if you can guarantee a kid is trans, you still don't want to do that. Why? Because the body isn't trans. That's where they your body is not trans. Okay, your
That's
body your body is either male or female, and there's very few exceptions that have all sorts of other disorders. But we don't worry about them. Okay, if you develop breasts when you're a boy, that's a disorder. That's not your body's not trying to tell you you're born in the wrong sex. Your mind.
That's right. Hey everybody, I caught myself another one. Today I'm also really, I feel like I'm always excited about my interviews because I am. I just feel so happy to get these people who are so intelligent and also really willing to have the conversation with me and also, you know, debunk a lot of what's happening. And I think this is how we do it. And we bring real people with real lives, not necessarily celebrities or influencers, but real people in real conversation. That's really what I'm trying to build here, to show you that what you might be seeing on Instagram and all these other platforms is not necessarily the real world. So with that, remember, like, subscribe, comment. All the comments really help raise, you know, the trajectory of this channel, and I see it growing, and you guys are amazing to me. And even the crappy comments, keep sending them, because those are even okay for me as well. So but with that, I want to introduce my guest today, and his name is James, and James is going to tell us a little bit about himself, and then we'll move forward. So, hey, James, thanks for showing up.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, I'm James. You may recognize my last name. It's actually Linehan. So I was why I'm important in this conversation is I was born with something called hypogonadic hypogonadism, sometimes referred to as secondary hypogonadism. What that means is a word hypogonadic, means your gonads, your testicles or your ovaries are not functioning. Okay. And the first word means hypogonadic, means the cause is within the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland is not telling your gonads to do anything, you know. And this is a genetic condition. There's two types. There's my type, which is congenital, which means I was born with it. They don't know why. They tested me, and they couldn't figure out any problem with my chromosomes or anything like that. I seemed all fine, except for the fact that I just didn't start puberty. The other condition is called Kalman syndrome, and that's a genetically inherited condition that also features lack of smell. Sometimes kidneys have problems and so forth. So there are two conditions that causes hypogonadism. And the reason why it's Lupron is a disease-causing drug. So Lupron, how it works is it causes my condition in kids. So I was born with the condition that kids are getting when you take them down to the Stanford or the gender clinic, as they call them. Yes,
the gender clinic.
Yeah, the genders get their gender.
So you're telling us that Lupron causes what you have, but what you have is an actual genetic situation.
Condition.
Is it a disease or condition? It's a condition.
It's a condition. Yeah. It's a disorder. It's a disorder. It's like been thrown into the sex development disorder. And they refer to me, the masters of the universe here, or the Saurons of the universe here, refer me as intersex, because for some reason, if you develop differently, you're someone not between a man and a woman, which is a whole nother subject we can get into.
Right.
But a person named Michael Landlaw, he's a doctor, he's a physician. He's testified at Florida. He's testified all over. He talks about my condition when he talks about puberty blockers, because he tells them, well, you're causing this condition over here. So, and since I'm an old man, I went to the which
that's relative, my friend.
It's just, you don't even notice it. It's like suddenly you're old. It's like, no, it's okay, I'm old now. So I went to the University of California, San Francisco. That's where you know of the Diane Ehensaft, Jack Turbin. They're all there. Yes. That's where gender affirming care got its start. But I was there in the 80s when they, practiced medicine, and they're like really concerned about not causing any harm, but wanting to remedy my problems at least with the least amount of intervention possible, because that's what
Right.
endocrinologists and all physicians actually do. Okay, they don't, you know,
Gotcha.
you may have a disorder, you may have, you know, you may have gender dysphoria, but we want to remedy that with the least amount of intervention possible, because more intervention means more problems. Okay, so any surgical intervention, drugs or anything
Right.
cause problems. So when I was there, they basically told me that my mother was, of course, panicked, like many many I hear today who are in a completely horrible situation. But you know, she was very concerned because suddenly they're like talking hormones and stuff like that. Same conversation. But you know, it was a fact that I obviously was something wrong with me. I was severely learning disabled. I was playing around with friends much younger than my age. I was playing around with toys and dolls much younger than my age. I looked childlike. I didn't look like a 16-year-old because they noticed it around 16 when I was like,
my question.
Yeah. Around 16, they started noticing.
16.
Yes. 16 years
right.
old. That's usually good doctors should notice that, but otherwise it was pretty uneventful. But myself, I was really in the closet. I was hiding. I could not go to locker rooms. I couldn't change in front of other grown adults, and I would hide because I knew I was, you know, I was a baby like. I mean, my genitalia was baby like. There was no pubic hair or anything. Okay, so I was, and all the other boys were growing up and they're getting strong. I mean, even the women could push me around. I was just this.
So you weren't having any Yeah, right. So you weren't having any muscle growth. You weren't having no penis growth. You weren't developing chest like muscle, like
hair,
none of it. So you at 16, what would you say? What would you say the age you looked like at 16?
Oh,
like
I probably
12?
looked like a 13-year-old, 12 or 13-year-old.
Wow.
And but I was but my mental state was the physician says, yeah, he's really held back. And of course they explained to my mom, this reason why this is happening is because he has not started puberty. So he's not started going through a pubic change. And they describe puberty to us as a symphony of hormones that's supposed to start around 10 or 11, that cascade throughout your body and mature your brain, your endocrine system, your bones, lots of stuff that they don't know yet. But your whole body goes through this process of puberty, and it's extremely important we either start his puberty, because we do not want to create a permanent medical patient, because they knew if they gave me hormones, even though they're just replacing the androgen I lack, that's all they're going to do, they will be creating infertility problems. They told me that there's chronic diseases associated with it, because puberty itself cannot be replicated. And they told me this very specifically. They said that we can get you to hit your marks, meaning we can get you to adulthood and be all manly and all that, but we can't copy Mother Nature's puberty.
Wow.
Yes. So they knew that quite some time, and they knew that because they have to bypass the system. They have to give me androgen just like somebody who's transitioning. And essentially for me, for instance, it just forces me right through puberty. And I would describe my interactions as, you know, with my kids, I didn't really, you know, I had a kind of fondness for girls. I thought they were cute. I didn't have any attraction, like sexual attraction at all. I heard about sexuality, but I didn't understand, because these things were vague concepts that I had no physical grounding in. And that's very, an adolescent does not have physical groundings in these things.
That's
like
right.
Women. Yes.
That's
are boys and girls, but they do not understand man and woman. So because men and women occupy a completely different development state than children do. and that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's the way.
But yeah, this is so great. What you're saying is incredible, because what you're saying is why I always say, kids, how do kids know they're trans if they're not going through puberty? Because how can they distinguish what it even means to be a boy or a girl if the puberty is sort of that space? You just said it, a symphony of hormones and change, and
Yes.
all of these amazing, beautiful things are happening to your body. So if you not going through puberty, are childlike at 16 on some level, right? So are you not having the same thing that a 16-year-old boy would be
No,
having
no,
towards
no. I
sex?
was no, I was very different. I mean, I didn't even really.
Right.
Yeah, I was. It was very. It was very suppressed, and girls like to hang out with me because I was completely passive. They would just have me, and they
Yeah,
would complain about other boys. I'm like going,
that's
I
right.
don't
That
understand
makes
that,
sense.
and they would just go,
What
oh,
about
you're
your
so
brain?
cool. Um,
Yeah, of course, because you weren't aggressive like, maybe
well,
young
I had
boys are.
severe learning disabilities. So I was in
So you
special education. Yes, I was. I
okay.
had
So
yes,
mhm,
yeah. So
I'm
I had
sorry.
dysgraphia and dyslexia and all those kinds of things because those are also development problems. So
See? Oh my God, I hate
mhm,
cutting you off. I'm so sorry, but I'm
that's
like,
okay. No, you can.
I'm just like, I want this information in my brain right now because it's so profound. It really, I mean, the whole reason you're here is the
Hmm.
conversation with puberty blockers. And you're basically going through what a person who would be given puberty blockers at 10 or whatever
Yeah,
would go
tenor
through. Is
stage
that
two,
not
which is
correct?
before the major change happens.
10 or
Yeah,
2.
tenor
Yeah.
stage two, one, two. The reason why they do that is because they would actually stop puberty completely, but they want to make sure you don't have a problem going through puberty. That's actually why they started tenor stage two. They want to see you start up to puberty and then they stop it.
Oh,
Okay, mine
wow.
it's like yeah, so my orchestra never arrived to play the puberty hormone game. It was
Right,
empty.
right.
And with puberty blockers,
Wow.
the orchestra arrives, it starts, and suddenly someone pulls the electricity and it shut down the whole system. So
Wow.
that's the difference, because once you start going down puberty, your body starts a clock and it's timing everything correctly,
Got
and it's
it.
got to hit all these complicated marks because the pituitary gland monitors all your other hormones as well, and it
Mhm.
checks, and this is a evolved million-year process to get
That's right.
humans from
Yeah.
adolescent, I'm a little boy, I'm learning what's going on in society and picking up language,
Mhm.
to I'm a grown man, I need to get married, I have sexual interests, I have manhood
Right.
type things versus boyhood type things. So these are two
Right.
separate states of being. Okay. And
Right.
so when you're stuck in a puberty state, um, your hormone levels are first thing drained out of you. So you don't have any. So you have severe emotional issues as well. So they told me that's why I had severe emotional problems and ADHD and all that stuff, because the hormones, whether they're estrogen or androgen, they balance your hormones. They start the
Right.
process of maturing the also the mental and cognitive, and
Mhm.
both men and women have different, men get aggressive and women get
Yeah.
other periods and stuff like that, so they both have this
Yeah.
adjustment to go through, but they all
Mhm.
have to go through the adjustment. So
Yes.
when they start you on a path, your body starts timing itself, so it's got it monitors itself, and slowly your hormones start going up during puberty,
Okay.
and then as that happens, your brain, your body actually monitors itself and ups the hormones
Mhm.
depending on what you're doing, or
Mhm.
lowers the hormones, higher in the evening, lower in the
Mhm.
morning. So there's all these different uh, very choreographed hormone release. It's not that, it's not your androgen just doesn't
Yeah.
like when you take an androgen, it just doesn't go high. It just goes up to a certain level and then goes down and
Right.
goes up and goes down. And
Right.
this process is very, very critical for development of all your, health, all your well-beings, all these organs. And it's only one way you can go through that. There's no, you can't, you if you're a natal male, you have to have androgen to do this, and if you're a natal female, you have to
Right.
have estrogen to do that. There's no getting
Right.
around that. Anybody who tells you, endocrinologists know this. They're playing idiot if they think that you just go through the other sex's puberty. That's crazy talk.
It's crazy.
Crazy talk.
It's totally. That's why I think they're trying to take biology off the table and calling biology a social construct, or it's not real. Or like what? That is so dangerous. So, oh my gosh, my friend, what you're saying is so profound and so important that the whole world's going to hear this. They are lying to us on some level, and they're lying to these kids. So let's go back to the puberty. So now they so they start the puberty in these young people who are trans. They let it start just a little bit, and then they block it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So they just want to make sure that it's going to start naturally.
They want to make sure it has a capability of starting, and it's also maybe how Lupron works. The mechanism action of Lupron actually does work. How Lupron works is it actually so your pituitary and hypothalamus, I forget which one, but one starts setting out what is called a sinusoidal release or a sine wave. It starts pulsing something called GnH hormones, and it pulses these things, and it tells the pituitary gland, okay, I got to release FH and LH. And what LH is the one that causes your testes or your ovaries to produce estrogen or androgen, and FH is fertility. That actually grows your fertility potential. So these two start, and this stimulates the and then your testes start to enlarge, and your ovaries start to grow, and everything starts maturing like that. So what happens with Lupron is it actually forces the light on. So it forces the instead of going through a sinusoidal release, it just stays like this, high, very, very high. And then it for first is a burst of hormones, and then it kind of short circuits and turns completely off. So it's a complete blockade of your pituitary gland. So that's blocking your pituitary gland. This is why it's used in cancer research. That's why it's very important with cancer. By all means, puberty blockers are the best thing in cancer. But
but that's a whole other
other than that, that's
situation.
a whole nother situation.
I feel like they're playing God on some level. They're trying to manipulate the human way of being, which is, as you said, hundreds of thousands, who knows how long of years, that this is how it's operated. Very so the reason they want to give these blockers to these young people so that they don't mature on the physical characteristics, is that the reason why they're
so what they say is they say that they are stopping the secondary sex characteristics from developing, and the first, both primary and secondary sex characteristics. So your gonads, your genitalia, beards, and then they concentrate on the beards, and they concentrate on the breasts, and they concentrate on that stuff. They only talk about
shoulders and Adam's apple. Is that secondary? Are those considered secondary?
Those are secondary sex characteristics. They're not tied to your sex. They are secondary.
To your sex.
This is where we present. This is a presenting part to single people that you're male or female, like you, Buck. I look at you say, and I say man. I don't see woman. I say man, and maybe your biology is woman, but you present as a man because your secondary sex characteristics, and a certain number of females can do this very well and easily. Others can't.
Sure.
So
even men can pass a feminine, maybe on some level. It doesn't make them a woman. It just they have secondary.
It's what you want to present. You want to present yourself as the opposite sex.
That's right.
Because
though I'm not.
Yeah, you want to present. Okay, you want to project. Whatever. Yeah, I know. Whatever reason that is, that's up to you. Okay. I mean,
right on, friend. You know me. I'm just like I'm a biological female. Shut up.
You're talking a lot of women's faces. So you have to say that a lot. So
hilarious, dude.
But we're really talking about development. We're not talking about this. We're not talking about social situations. Okay.
Right.
And
that's right. Right.
That's a problem, and they understand
That's the
these
problem.
these things very, very, very well. They understand that there's only a certain amount of time you can actually go through puberty. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
23 to 16, and so there's only a certain amount of time where a kid can go through puberty.
Hmm.
Otherwise, the cells stop responding as much to estrogen or androgen,
Uh,
so they just stop maturing. And this is
uh,
because if they kept maturing, you could get cancer. So there's got to be a cutoff point
a
where
cutoff.
your genitalia, where everything would say, well, after this point, we're not gonna stop. We're gonna have to stop
Yeah.
growing. So this is a very critical
Yeah.
point, because at one point when they couldn't get my pituitary gland started, and my mom's
Hmm.
freaking out, and they told her, so we're going to have to get him androgen because he could lose all his sexual function. Because at a certain point, males males lose their sexual function if they don't get active. If androgen does not hit that
Oh.
process, you lose your sexual function as a male.
What about a
So
female?
females,
Is it
females, females can be either estrogen or androgen can activate females' sexual function. Um,
okay?
we know this because there's certain sexual disorders that cause only
Hmm.
estrogen, and we know that females can actually, and males can, live on just androgen or just estrogen. You actually don't need the other sex's hormone. You don't need
Oh.
estrogen. So
Oh.
a female does not need androgen, nor a male needs estrogen. It's just
Oh.
these are
I
byproducts. These are byproducts of our
I see,
gonad.
they're byproducts. I thought we needed
Yes.
to have like level estrogen, whatever in our bodies on
No,
some
no.
level.
It
See, and
does. It
I
does.
had a problem.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually did have a problem with my reproductive system from
Hmm.
not having any estrogen. And so
Hmm.
I had to take a supplement that literally helps me, which was it's called DHEA. But that
Oh
just
yes.
leveled out myself a little bit because I did feel
Uh,
like I needed a little estrogen
yeah. Yeah. You, because your
because my
um
biology.
your biology is craving that. Okay. Your
That
psychology may
there you
not, but
go.
your biology needs that. It doesn't
That's
understand.
why.
Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
understand.
I'm
It just
confusing it by shoving testosterone in my body. That's why, my gosh, that's why this is such an important conversation. People
Mhm.
don't understand how powerful. And look at you, you born without it. So I want to go back to you. Forget me. I want to
Okay,
go
sure.
back to you because I want to know, could you die from what you were born with if you didn't get the
Could I okay, if I did not get androgen, what would happen is, A, I would lose all sexual function. B, I would look
hmm
very bizarre. I would have
hmm
very tall legs, very long legs, and very
hmm
short body. I would have kind of a boyish appearance,
Oh,
and I would
wow.
develop osteoporosis. Uh, uh,
Okay.
Soon after that, and
Okay.
and that would cause my bones to deteriorate, and I
Oh,
could, my
wow.
spinal could get, and there's all sorts of other things that they don't quite know about, but they know that because they have a lot of literature on castrated males and boys throughout history,
Uh-huh.
because castration used to be practiced. It was practiced as a punishment. They weren't helping people. Okay, uh,
Wow.
so they
Holy
so
crap.
yes, hypogonadism actually comes from, I believe, Greek. It's an old word. They've always known this about. They've always known this about, particularly boys. Girls,
Mhm.
again, because they have internal. They
Mhm.
did not. They didn't
Mhm.
understand that. But to about 1940 or 40 or 30, they started figuring this
Mhm.
stuff out, as far as that
Wow.
concerned. And that's why
Fascinating.
yes, they developed these things specifically to treat disorders like mine. So,
Like yours.
and
And yours is very rare. Is it not very
it's
rare,
rare.
yours?
It's rare to have people just born with this condition. It's about one in
Okay.
30,000 or one in 40,000.
Okay.
So that's very rare.
Okay.
That's like, all these conditions are very, very rare.
Right.
I think you had somebody on with hypo androgen.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
that's a
that's
little bit
right.
more common, and that's when,
That's right.
androgen, you get a female. It's basically a female, but throughout the entire development, the entire development, they
Mhm.
get excess androgen produced by adrenal glands, and this causes
Yeah.
a lot of health issues. And those rare conditions, that's where all the unnecessary surgeries happen. Those conditions. not the primaries and not the secondaries. Now there's two. The primary, I have secondary. The primaries are the Klinefelters, the Turners. These
Okay.
are primary. This is because
Okay.
if you have an extra chromosome or a duplicate extra chromosome, it causes your gonads to cause them dysfunction. It causes kidneys to dysfunction. It causes all sorts of other health issues. And this is what I want your audience to understand. Where are all the health issues associated with Klinefelters, Turners? Where are these things? All these suffer from a multitude of health disorders throughout life. And why aren't they talking about that? Why are they just talking about this? Yeah, why? I don't know. I think it's because they have.
Well, I mean, clearly clearly we can make an opinion.
We know. We assume that they just have this idea that these people have their genders out there somewhere, and we have to find them. Okay, I call it. There's genders out there. We have to find them. Okay, and we have to save these genders. Save these
it's creepy. This whole thing is so. The fact that we are doing this to young kids. So here you're telling me how important puberty is. And I think we all, pretty much everyone in the world understands how. So these people are saying it's not so important and we can stop doing this they call it pausing, right? And then they can just kick it right back into gear again. Is that true? Is it a pause?
So according to the, Lupron's own data, it's about 90% actually start again. So once they withdraw the medication, the electricity comes on, and all the conductor of your hormones gets all confused and goes, I guess we're supposed to start playing. And 9 times out of 10 that does happen. Sometimes it just shuts out completely. Okay. But the problem is that, and we've known this now, we've had data about my condition. Finally, they went out and found 200 people with my condition and asked them how their life is. And they found that about 92% of them had no fertility as far as children. They didn't have their own children. Even though I can use fertility medication and I could do I could be a father, it's a lot of extra steps. But the reason why they found this is because the delay in puberty caused so much psychological damage. Remember I said about not keeping up with my peers as far as development is concerned. So I was not developing the same rate as my peers. I was stuck in a childlike state and not able to develop with my peers. And they believe that caused so much body. It's not this. It's body dysphoria. It's like there's something wrong with me. It's not like gender dysphoria is about you want apples. But this is more like I don't like my genitalia. I don't feel.
That's more like
enough.
body. That's body dysmorphia or something. That's right. Those are, but they're equating them on some level to be the same thing when that's not true.
No, that's not true.
Because they're more worried about
body. They're causing body dysmorphia when you hold someone back puberty. So you
so that's what you're telling me.
Yes. Yeah. You take a kid with gender dysphoria and you're giving him puberty blockers and you're causing body dysphoria because they're not going through puberty. And then after that, you're talking about genders and stuff like that, which no one can figure out unless the kids. And of course, what are they going to do? It's not only a gateway, it's like a water slide. They're gonna go with what the doctors say. And they're just going to all go on to cross-sex hormones, regardless if they're necessary or anything like that. They don't understand they don't see themselves
because they're listening to the doctor. Because we all feel like the doctor knows what they're talking about. We're hoping that, but as on this particular subject we're talking about,
that's his job.
Oh my God,
practicing medicine.
That's like I say it all the time. Practicing medicine.
Practicing medicine. That's what you're supposed to do. All the doctors, like I just was put on a new medication for my rheumatoid arthritis, and the nurse now calls me every week to ask me how I'm doing. They don't you don't walk up as either a trans person or something like that. They just don't give you hormones and say, get out the door. Thank you. Call me if you have a problem. It's insane. It's utterly insane how they're doing this. And I think
they're literally doing that.
Yes, they're literally doing that. Like for instance, when I started my treatment, they gave me a little bit, and they see what happens. They test your blood.
That's what they do with me.
And then they get a little more, And then, and I had to go with 5 different specialists. I had to see the bone specialist. I had to see a neurologist. I had to see a urologist. I had to see a psychiatrist. So I had to see all these people, and they all monitor my progress because they all have different, because puberty affects all these different areas. So they had to get all the professionals on board to make sure I was developing properly. And that means I have to go down every few months, and they take out tape measures, and they look at body hair, and they have a checklist, and they said, okay, here you are here. Now we're gonna up your androgen a little bit and see where we can get you here. So the whole thing took around, I guess from, I was like at 6 months, I was like a completely different person. It was incredible.
Wow.
Completely
Just by
different person.
adding the androgen into your body, of course, because it was lacking. So that was the thing that it literally, like sort of like a dead plant or whatever, and you water it, and it's like,
it just grew right up. And all the bullying, because I was like, oh, my bullies, and I walk in and I forget that because I think the thing is, I keep thinking I'm like this little little kid, and that's still then that image, and I'll send you the research after that. But that kind of kid image of me is this, it's still in me. It's still there.
Oh,
and it still pops up, and it's still, if I'm with other males, even though I can tell myself, no, I'm just saying that they're just, but that keeps popping up. So I still can't go to a gym's locker room. I still have to go home. So it's just
because you just feel uncomfortable with your body.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why.
But it did grow. But did you actually get back?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You look.
I know it. I responded very well because they were very good doctors. They knew exactly what they were doing back then. Again, today they're
I don't know. They had a different way of being. They cared to like bring you through. There's something weird going on, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't you think? There's something very weird.
I'm not sure where it started, because there were the first gender dysphoric kids were back in the 80s. But they would not ever see that. They saw psychiatrists, and
but we didn't call them trans kids, and we didn't do any of that stuff, dude. These were kids suffering with some dysphoria, and the whole point was to get the kid out of the dysphoria. I feel like we're bringing kids into dysphoria by telling them you're in the wrong body. What?
Well, yeah, I know, you're letting them off the hook. Okay, so if they have gender dysphoria or unresolvable gender dysphoria, I don't care.
Yeah,
you get that kid through puberty, and you make sure they're not harming themselves, and it's comfortable process. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your job. Okay, so you hear about these suicide statistics and all that, and all these suicides. That's because they're not doing their job. Okay, so
excellent
point. That's not that the kid has some sort of hidden gender that they need to discover, and they have this specific treatment. That's because the psychiatrists are not doing their job. And I was listening because I wanted to understand why initially they decided with a bunch of kids, 47ers, to send them on puberty blockers, or whether or not they called up endocrinologists and bone specialists to ask them what the side effects were, and would this be a good idea. Should we proceed with this, even with this 47 highly selected kids? Would this be a good idea? Is this something that maybe down the road? And there's evidently no answer back. And it seems like certain parts of, like for instance, John Money and all those people like that, and some sexologists they do things like, why don't we do it and see what happens? And you hear that a lot, and it's like. And then they don't follow up. I said, well, did you follow up? And they're like, oh, yeah, we kind of follow. Oh, well, didn't you just check? I mean, didn't you call your patient 10 years, say, are you still alive? Are you think? Stuck? Are you, trapped in your basement, or you can't get out of your bed, or what's going on with you? Dude. But no follow-up. And this just puzzles me too. It must be some problem with their brain or something. I think they have a problem.
We're talking about medical. We're talking about actual medical people who I don't believe that they've always been this way, or with other things that let's just say cancer. No one's just like winging it. They're doing hardcore research on all of this stuff, and you can't get stuff passed through the FDA without really having hardcore, like stuff going on. I feel like the trans medicine has been given sort of some other path to say, do whatever you need to do. We'll just okay
Yeah.
and stamp everything. Doesn't it feel
Yeah.
like that?
It does. I think there's a lot of
What is
social
happening?
pressure. There's social pressure. There's an entire generation that has grown up worshiping their identities, which is not a good idea. Which
Nope.
Identities are suffering. They always cause suffering. And and I think that like for instance, if you look at the history of endocrinology, and they had hormones in 1940, and they did growth hormones. They did growth. I was offered growth hormones at one point.
Wow.
They decided that was toward the end of it, but they were actually in, I guess, the 60s, actually making women shorter and men taller based on social categories using growth hormones. Yeah, it's a book.
Idea.
Yeah, there's a book
What's
called
the name of the book?
Normal at All Costs. Normal at All Costs.
Wow.
And it's kind of creepy. If you read it, it sounds a bunch of endocrinologists using they did use puberty blockers too. About 300,000 people went. It's very, very similar, and that was kind of bizarre. They just simply wanted. They knew that if you, like for instance me, if they stopped the boy's puberty and they thought they gave them growth hormones, and then they let the puberty grow, the adult male would grow up taller, and that's seen in Klinefelters as well. A lot of people with Klinefelters are very tall because and with women, they would start their puberty early, so they would end up shorter. Now, for some reason, they did this for quite some time.
Wow. So where did they get these patients? Were they honest to the patients? Like, we're going to actually do this? Were they doing it to little? Do you know? I'm going to get the book, and I'm going to actually.
Yeah, you're going to have to. It is something.
It's okay. Yeah.
It is something. Yeah. What they did is there was a lot of social pressure because a lot of mothers were worried about their daughters finding husbands because they were 6'2" or 6'3", and there was a lot of pressure so they bring the daughter to doctor. And again, it's kind of meant, kind of like, I don't want my daughter to be 6'3", and
it's a lot of weird.
It's like, my God, and and again, I believe they never did follow it up. And if you read the book, I believe Australia followed up, and again, they found out that the women all suffered from miscarriages, infertility problems, health problems, but it was never followed up to any sort of extent. It's the same type of thing. So endocrinologists have always been a bit of the they're kind of like the mad scientists
experiment.
Sometimes.
That's right.
Mad scientists.
That's right.
And then of course, the stereotype of plastic surgeons. Is there like serial murders with professional people like to cut people up? So I think you got the mad scientists together with the serial murderers, and that's why you're finding all these people online going, "I cut off the tits of a 13-year-old." That's because you would have ended up in a shack cutting up some other girl or something.
No, it's so bizarre, and we're all just like, "Yay, trans kids are!" I'm like, "What? Do you realize what we're doing right now? Let's celebrate taking these kids out." Like, literally, you're telling us right now we are doing the most insane thing. Somebody who is born with a situation that had to do all the hormones. You're solid and gold because you can actually tell us from your own point of view and your own lived experience that giving these kids and doing these things is not healthy. It's like there's no kid that is born in the wrong body. These kids are going through normal childhood stuff.
No.
And there's no such thing as the wrong puberty unless something like you, which is very rare, but the majority of people.
It's a disordered puberty. It's a disordered puberty.
Disordered. Yeah. There you go.
I don't know. Wrong puberty doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense.
Doesn't.
And if you feel like you're born in the wrong body, that's something we can talk about.
That's different. That's here.
Yes,
That's
yes,
here.
yes.
That's not
That's it's
here. Like
you
I went
feel
through
like
puberty, dude. Look,
yes.
I mean, I actually
You,
went through female puberty and I look like a
yeah,
dude. So I can
yes.
poke holes in all of their nonsense
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all of that. And I do believe they're using these kids to experiment because I don't think they have the statistics. I don't think, and from what I've read and
Mhm.
seen, they don't have any solid 100% information that would say we are
Mhm.
doing the right thing to these children. We don't.
No, no, if even if you can guarantee a kid is trans, you still don't wanna do that. Why? Because the body isn't trans.
That's oh
That's
my
where they
God.
your body is not trans, okay?
That's
Your
right.
body is either
That
male or female, and there's a few
that's right.
very few exceptions that have all sorts of other disorders, but
Yep.
we don't worry about them, okay? If you develop breasts when you're a boy,
Yeah.
that's a disorder. That's not your
Yeah.
body's not trying to tell you you're born in the wrong sex. Your mind
That's
is.
right. Your
And
mind is
tell
that's what I keep saying.
yes,
Oh man.
whether
Oh
you're what
man.
your audience, whether trans or not, it's gonna have to deal with that. They're gonna have to deal with their mind body thing. It's not a body thing. It
But
has
they're not
nothing to
working
do
on
with
the
that.
mind. They're only working on
Yes.
the body, and which is why it's going to be a huge mess. We already see it, my friend, with all the
Mhm.
detransitioners. That they're the
Mhm.
ones who are telling us stop. What you're doing is completely insane.
Yes, yes. The detransitioners now when you listen to detransitioners, that's what those when they talk about side effects, that's what the side effects are. I mean, I'm listening, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right, that's a side effect." Let's
Oh
say
my
I
god.
have at my
Mhm,
age, I've been
mhm.
my insurance pays out $45,000 in claims, which includes one medication that costs
Wow.
$7,000 a piece. Um, the androgen has caused my prostate to grow to the point where I had to actually use catheters for like 2 years. I take antibiotics. I've been
Oh my
through
god.
5 surgeries, and again,
Oh my god.
everybody's, oh, you're so poor. And I said, no, 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 no. This is something I was born with. I was born. This is something I have to deal with. I'm
Yeah.
not going to make it another person's problem. Although I wish the government would figure out to give me health care. I mean, we could all use
I
that.
can't believe you don't have health care. That is ridiculous.
Yes, I
What?
know. It's
Are you in the United
I
States? Are you in another
I am in the United
are you in the
States. I
US?
mean,
We don't
I
have
have
health care.
insurance. I have insurance, but again, it's like
It's a
it's
joke.
why don't those people concentrate on that problem? That's the problem. I
I
mean,
don't
there's people
know.
who can't get
It's
insulin.
oh my god, there's so
Again,
many things people can't get. Are you kidding me?
uh,
We have the most horrible healthcare system for
we
such
don't
a
need
supposedly progressive country. What?
gender. No
Yeah,
more gender doctors. We
and that's the thing. It's money related, as I really do
yes.
believe that because it's like
Oh
now
yeah.
it's a new whole thing, gender affirming care or whatever
Oh
all
yeah.
of that nonsense is. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Gender affirming care? What about when these kids grow up and they don't? How, what happened with your sex? Do you have feelings sexually, or
Oh
did
yes.
that
No,
feel
I'm no,
okay?
I'm quite no. I my all my
Okay,
I'm perfectly
everything's
normal.
solid.
Everything is
Okay,
solid
yeah,
except I'm infertile. That's the
yeah.
only thing.
You're
And I can't.
infertile. I see.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
infertile. That's the thing, and it also causes me a lot of health problems because I have to keep injecting myself. I mean, they have I
That's
inject
right.
myself about once a week. They actually give you a little like EpiPens now, which so you can inject
Uh-huh,
yourself.
right.
Because
With
unfortunately the
what kind of
trans people get.
how many
Oh,
kinds of different medication do you have to
uh,
take?
I have my rheumatoid arthritis, which is very common because women get it, and
Mm,
any kind of because when the endocrine system, your immune system actually matures during puberty.
okay.
The and any kind of disruption in puberty causes long term um, rheumatoid arthritis, and this has been shown in many patients. Yes,
Oh my god, so
rheumatoid
wait a
arthritis.
minute. So these kids who are being blocked in their puberty could possibly get rheumatoid
Yes,
how do you say it?
rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, it means
Arthritis.
swelling of the joints,
So are they
and
most definitely going to get it? Do you think? Like
it
what do you think the
raises your
percentage
risks. It raises your
raises your
risks, I
risk?
believe, 20% because there's a lot of research around kids who had diseases that disrupted puberty, and then they can take a long term and they can look at them and they can say where they ended up, and most of them ended up with a high rate of lupus, rheumatoid
Oh
arthritis and all
no.
that kind of stuff. Yes.
No, lupus is insane. I had an aunt pass away from lupus. She was in so much pain. Oh God, it was
Mhm.
horrible.
Yeah.
Wow. Amongst other things. These are just two
Mhm.
things you're saying to us,
Yes,
right?
yes. Osteoporosis is
Oh my
common
God.
because
Oh my
all
God.
the calcium. See, the good thing about my puberty was it was never started. So my body was in a
Yeah,
whole complete holding pattern. It was like, okay,
that's
what's
right.
happening now? It's like, is it anything, nothing. So when it started, it just finished as best as the doctors could. But these kids,
Right.
which I'm worried about, which we've never seen before, we have no idea, start, stop, and then most of them, 90% of them go on to cross-sex hormones.
That's
So
right.
that's a really that's something we don't know what's going to happen because we don't know
We
what estrogen.
don't.
We have no idea. You know.
Dude, I started taking hormones 30 years ago. I've been on testosterone for 31 years solid, okay?
Hmm.
I don't know what's going on other than I had gnarly atrophy. I almost died. I became septic. It was horrifying what happened to me. Nobody could understand it. Now the kids today are having the same thing happen to me, and I'm like, that shouldn't be happening. I already told you it happened to me, and I
Hmm.
presented it to the medical association, and everyone just is like plugging their ears. I'm like, what?
Yes.
That's one of the most gnarly number one side effects of testosterone on a female bodied
Hmm.
person is atrophy of the reproductive system. And they're not even
Yes.
taking that seriously. And like,
Yeah.
seriously, I almost died. I got septic. Dude. So it is so weird to me. Well, it's not. You're just saying so much to me as if
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah. Well,
care. They're just
I have
living
apathy
full
too. I have that too. Of my testicles become hard because they never
atrophied.
get
They became
stimulated.
atrophied. That's
Yes,
right.
yes. And what I do is I use
Wow.
another. I have another, which is $250 a bottle, which I use, which stimulates them and keeps
If you
them
were
from.
trans, you would be getting it all. You should.
Yes.
God, dude,
No,
this is
I'm not.
so
I'm not.
frustrating.
I'm.
If you said you were trans,
Yeah, yeah. I would. You know. I'm a special intersex person. I'm a special identity. Special identity. Treat me special. And it's like,
totally.
oh, did you say the magic word? Oh, now you're a magic
Oh my
being.
God,
Now
dude.
you get now the biological rules don't apply to you. Now you're in some other separate category where we're just going to keep
Totally.
you at praise and turn you into a psychotic narcissist as we do it. So,
Dude,
well,
you're
I
so
mean,
right on. Hilarious.
it's just okay.
It's
You
so
know,
I mean, I laugh because we have I mean, I don't even want to be attached to the trans community at this point, dude. I'm like, who are you people? You're fucking
oh yes,
insane.
no, a lot of those people are just older, people with fetishes, which now have gotten the
That's right.
excuse where they can take their fetishes out on the street. And again,
That's right.
if you have fetishes, fine, keep them
Who
in the bedroom.
cares?
Who
That's
cares?
right. We don't need to see
But
your shit. I don't really care.
but
Yeah.
if you're in my face with it, okay, fetishes are for privacy, not for publicity.
That's right.
Don't
That's
public,
right. It's
don't
not.
talk about it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Totally on
If
board
you want
with
to
you. Well,
walk
that's
around
what's
like,
really we opened the floodgates. We did. We opened the
mhm,
floodgates of trans, and we just said anyone can be trans, and then that was it. Anyone can be trans, dude. And then that just
mhm,
literally created this
mhm.
insane. And then let's play with kids. Let's see if we can mold kids into what we think they need to be, and then brainwash parents to think that their kid is actually a boy and not a girl. And like, what is happening? Shouldn't we try to get these kids out of this? Why are we
Yes,
pulling
yeah.
so many kids into this?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
come
there's
here.
there's something called it's called a gambler's paradise where people start going in on this and they get all this sunk cost. So
Oh,
it's like if they stop, then the bills come due. So it's a weird psychological where it's like they
wow.
where people just
Sunk
start,
costs.
sunk
That's right.
costs. It's like going, well, if we say no, we really did not know what we're doing. I mean,
Oh
evidently
my
this is a
God.
disaster.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
what are the activists going to do?
Wow.
I mean,
You're
are the
right. No, I
YouTube
mean, I really
stations going to
don't
blow
want to.
up?
It's so true, man. I was like, I can't even believe it, but you're so right. It's obvious what's happening. I mean, I've seen already so many papers saying, more and more pediatricians are starting to speak up. More doctors are saying, hey, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And they're being silenced, but they're actually finally getting platforms. And I'm reading stuff that's going, they're saying that they're not being honest about the studies. They're not being honest. They're
No.
sort of cherry picking
small
the
amount
pieces.
Of studies. It's very small.
That's right.
There's only like 47 individuals went through this in Dutch, and the Dutch were kind of.
That's right.
They're kind of bizarre.
They were like,
and yeah, they're a little bizarre people, and it should have stopped there. But
should have stopped.
Yes, they should have said, no, that's not a good idea. These people are not living good lives. You don't want to cut off your other arms to try to save your head or something. But
that's what's happening.
Yeah,
that's because I read this thing where it said, a lot of these kids just might have what you said, and which I keep saying is body dysmorphia. They don't have gender. Their bodies are not happy with their bodies, which a lot of, especially girls, are not happy with during puberty. So what happens is they cut off their breasts. That's not good enough. Then they want to do something with their genitals. That's not good enough. Then they start messing. So the doctor made this great point. He said, you're messing with people's, when you start giving them these opportunities to cut their breasts off, it's not going to be good enough. They're going to go to the next thing and the next thing, because you're not going to the brain. We're not mental health, taking care of these kids' mental health. We're only doing their physical.
We're altering their appearance for things.
That's right.
Inside. And like I grew up in where it was known as what's in your inside, not what's in your outside. And they're saying the outside actually equals your inside. It's like very strange people.
No, it's all manipulation. It's all I see the words they're giving these vulnerable poor kids. They're giving them who's ever the adults. Oh man, they're literally leading these kids down this path, giving them all these words. I'm a trans kid, right? Like everyone hates us. I see what's happening. They're indoctrinating them to this really horrible thought process. And when this ends, there's going to be a massive amount of damage done.
I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you got kids out there. Because what's wrong is all the side effects of all these puberty blockers and all that are delayed 10 to 20 years. So you don't know what's going to happen. Because I did not know at 40 I would be having rheumatoid arthritis. I felt fine until around 30, and then I started having all these.
Interesting.
All these problems. Now, not all of us who have this condition have these problems, but anything that's in your genetic history, when you start messing around puberty, gets triggered. So it's like if you had a great aunt, or you had this other problem with another, one of your ancestors, it just triggers these things, and they go off a little like genetic time bombs because you've messed around your normal development. And again, this is all just normal medicine. This is all,
They know that these kids who are on blockers are going to have some health problems later on, but they're not even talking about that to these kids. And the genetic thing is right. I lost all my hair because of my genetics. Some trans guys don't lose hair, but I did because of
that's
that
specifically
situation.
Because of genetics. And again, I mean, there's no follow-up, and you got these. They are between. They present, they're female, but they present like they're male, and now they don't want to present as a male, and they can't go back. And these physicians, I hear them all the time. I mean, like for instance, Joshua Safer. I mean, he actually believes that people, like, we're in the business of reconfiguring genitalia to match their gender identity. That's what. That's what an endocrinologist, the chief of the Mount Sinai Gender Clinic, with whose colleague is Marcy Bowers, the head of WPATH. And I don't know what they're doing now, if they're going to come back and say, well, the puberty blockers didn't work, we're going to have to put those off. I don't know if they're trying to backtrack, or I don't know what they're doing. But
what you said earlier, sunk costs. It's the same thing. I think that they don't want to be embarrassed, and that their egos matter more than actual health of these people. WPATH is a crap dump. I do not support that organization, and I keep telling everybody that's
like
it's a self-appointed organization. That's right. It's not a medical organization. They're not God. They've self-appointed bunch of psychopathic, narcissistic weirdos who think they can tell me what I am when they're not. They're disgusting.
I call it psychosexual surgery. So that's what I call it.
Totally.
Psychosexual surgery. Before we had psychosurgery, which is when they did lobotomy. Now we've moved on to psychosexual surgery, where we're altering genitalia's appearance to
appearance, people. Appearance. That's why I didn't get that surgery.
Yes.
I don't have that surgery, and I feel so happy I never went there, dude. I have
why
great
would you
sex life.
Why don't you just work with your own body, your own sexual body, and just try to work with it the way you can?
There you go.
But if you get that surgery, it's not going to work anymore. Okay, those penises and vaginas, they don't do anything.
Nope.
They
don't do anything. It's cosmetic.
It's cosmetic.
Now, that being said, I'm going to say that any person out there that needs to do that as an adult, you go right ahead.
Oh, yeah. I would not
we don't care. We don't care.
I would urge you
they're
to
doing
reconsider.
But didn't they do it on Jazz Jennings, and she was 16 or something when she got her vaginoplasty?
17 or
that's
16.
Still a kid. People are saying that's not happening to kids. She's an actual child at 16 or 17. That's what are you talking about?
We have recordings of the head of the gender clinic in UCLA. These are not out operating, taking breasts off of people as young as 12. 12-year-old female.
Disgusting.
And if you look, it's like, okay, you're taking breasts off of a developing female. What does that cause? We don't know. No idea.
Oh my God. Dude, I'm so mad. I mean, I'm just mad. Not only because I'm a transsexual and this did help me. It helped me move forward in my life. I have a happy, awesome life, and everything is great. It's why I have to stay out in this spot, and that's why I have to speak out and have people like you, because I don't want people to think that nobody should transition. Yes, they should, and sometimes people need to do this, but it's very rare. Like what you have, James, very rare. It's not something a ton of people have, but we should know about what you have. And what you have is knowledge that not a lot of people have when it comes to hormonal replacement, puberty, what it did to you, what now functioning as a 40-year-old male, the damage that, did you take Lupron? Oh, 50,
no,
55?
No. Yes. I'm 40. I wish I was 40.
Well, you look 40.
Thank you.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
You're very young.
I'm 60. I'm
60. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You stayed out of the sun. That's very good.
But wait, do you? I do. I stay out of the sun. But I want to ask you, did you take Lupron?
No. Lupron is not. Lupron, remember, my condition is that Lupron causes
those condition you have.
Yes, it's just like if you had diabetes and you're taking insulin, and insulin is another hormone. It's another hormone.
Yep.
And you wake up one day and you turn on the telly and you realize that people are taking their kids down to get insulin blockers. And they're like, why are they doing insulin blockers? Doesn't that cause diabetes? And it's like, no.
Oh my God.
Diabetes, that's a disease. Well, that's my disease is insulin problem. And you're giving them, blocking their insulin.
Oh my God. No, I know. You see, they're doing that. They're doing that though. They're flipping words. They're actually manipulating the words, right? Or biology doesn't matter, or blah 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 blah. I'm like, what are you people talking about? Like, if I have to go to the doctor, which I do, and I have to have maybe go to the gynecologist because I have a vagina, and you think I walk in saying I'm a dude? No, I actually put in there that I'm a biological female, because if I write male, they're gonna go, what are you doing here, dude?
why don't they could just put your transsexual male, and you can even use pronouns.
That's right. But I don't even care about that. I'm not there to school anybody. I'm there to get my medical.
But why can't we just this stupid male or female, and you watch these people, and I swear they use a special language like cis and opposite pronouns during the medical, and I swear it's causing your brain to switch categories, because we see things in categories. And there's an excellent video a biologist 10 years ago talked about categories in human, and how susceptible categories can be in human cognition, and we can get these things confused. And I think this is causing some serious mental problems within even within the doctors, who don't know what they're dealing with. They psychologically think they're dealing with something different, and it's very concerning.
Yeah, you're right, because the doctors are getting mixed up or scared to say anything or whatever, like stay on track. But I don't know. Do you think it was like a master plan or something? I sound like conspiracy, but there's something weird going on.
It's
really.
I've heard it caused as it's a cathedral. It's more of it's like a cathedral, not a conspiracy, where one set of people start singing, and then suddenly it catches. So there are conspiracies, and there are people, bad actors. But there's like a, kind of a where people start copying other people's behavior, and then the social pressure comes, and this is which is very important. We all get manipulated by social pressure, and these activist groups get into governments, and they start pressuring, using forcing all this other change. And I think it's just it's a perfect storm of all these circumstances coming together, which is again. But I hope somebody's held accountable, because
they will. They will,
hopefully, because otherwise they just repeat it. They just go on to something else. Like Diane Ehensaft, before that, she wrote a paper on remember Satanic Panic? She was actually a psychiatrist.
That's right.
She actually wrote a paper that appeared talking about a kid suffering from sexual abuse from a demon that never. None of it ever happened. The whole paper is a complete.
Oh my God!
Was a fraud. Wow. I can also send you the paper.
Yes,
on that. And this is Diane Ehensaft, and she's the one who started affirmation therapy. And it's like she's replaced the demons with genders. Okay, she just swaps her old. No, these kids are not suffering from demons. They're suffering from genders. I mean,
oh my God, you've got to send me that. That is actually very, wow, dude. I know. I feel manipulated. I feel like they're trying to manipulate my thought process and like telling me every time I'm wrong, or that's why they come after me. You're a transphobe. I'm a tranny who transitioned 30 years ago. Far from it. Don't you dare. But that's how I can tell you. They don't want people like us talking. They don't want me and you to get together. They don't want this.
No, they don't.
To be out there.
They don't ask anybody who disagrees with them. They just pick very specific people who go along with the program and put them in power, put them in charge of the organizations. They don't like going, well, maybe we should consider what everybody else says. No, they're just like,
nope.
give us.
The problem with that, though, is now everything's rolling back, right? Everything, and could affect me and transition.
Scary. It's scary, because even I'm like going, oh, I take androgen. Well, why are you still taking androgen? Can't you stop?
Oh my God!
I can't stop. I can't. If I stop, I get osteoporosis.
Oh my God!
So they don't understand that there's actual real uses for these hormones.
That's right. 100%.
Legitimate
use. That now are being thrown out to 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds at Planned Parenthood and 20-minute intake. We know that. This is an actual fact. And literally telling the kids to go on YouTube. Do you know that, James? Telling the kids to go on YouTube and learn how to inject their testosterone. Do you know how insane that is? What?
Oh my! They sat me down and they taught me, and then they go through all of these things, and they talk about what you should be looking out for.
That's right.
What's this? YouTube? Go on YouTube. I mean, it's like YouTube is not a medical channel. I mean, it's like, oh, by the way, OnlyFans is not a medical journal. Okay, it's not a medical journal.
OnlyFans to learn about how to have sex. Oh my God! That's absurd.
That is not a journal.
It's not a medical.
Tumblr is not something where you want to go to learn about psychology of adolescence. Okay.
Oh God, we're in hell. We live in hell.
Yes, it's hell. It's absolute hell.
Oh my God, James.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to end here, and I'm going to just tell you that I think you're amazing, and I bet people are going to want to have you back on. So I'm going to ask you, do you want to say anything before we go that you think people should?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. I'll send you the YouTube link and
Great.
my Twitter link. So
Great.
if anybody would like to get in
Yep.
contact me, do so. I'm willing
Excellent.
to I'm willing to talk on this. Remember, it's very hard for me to be this platform because it's like, no, I went to you guys in the
That's
80s
right.
and you're
That's
saying
right.
different junk now. Now tell me why that is. Because it's you know,
Excellent.
like, because they all run away from me. They just just run out the back door as soon as
Yeah,
I
because
show up.
you're shining a spotlight. It's like
Yes,
cockroaches, dude. They're like
yes,
and then if you put a light on them, they scatter. So that
okay,
you're literally
yeah,
shining a light on it. That's why you're so amazing, my friend, for stepping
okay.
up. You didn't have to
You are
step up.
too. No, no, no,
Well,
yes,
we're
no.
together. We're gonna make something happen here. But I'm
Together we
telling
can,
you, you're
because
awesome,
I care
James. You
about
did
all
not
these
have
people. I
to.
care about the transsexuals too.
Thank you.
I don't
Thank
want
you.
them, because
Thank you.
they're being called, they're being held
That's
accountable. They're
right.
like, why would we take
That's
everybody
right.
out to the gallows now? No, no.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I
No, I
know.
know. That's what I feel like. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I'm not one. I'm trying to help you here. Like, I'm not a bad person.
Yes,
Like,
I know.
what
We're
is
trying to help. We're trying to
so
help.
that's why we have to coexist, me and you, and we have to
Yes,
sort
we
of
do.
bring these things to the table so that people can actually see and make their
Mhm,
own choices. You know,
mhm.
if you don't believe what we're saying, you can figure it out on your own. But I
Oh,
feel
yes, yeah.
obligated to bring, some truth to
Somebody has to say something.
horrible. Yeah,
Yeah,
if we don't, then we're also liable for
yeah.
what's
We
happening if
have
we
to
don't
speak up.
stand
Have
up.
to
I
speak up.
totally agree, 100%,
Yeah.
James.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
with that, everybody, thanks everybody for joining us. I very much
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Leave James a lot of love and comments, and I'll put his YouTube channel and Twitter and all the things to reach him. He's very accessible, as he
Oh,
said.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
with that, remember, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things, because it really is helping this channel,
Yes.
and I do appreciate
Mhm.
it. And follow James on YouTube so we can get his channel going too, so we
Yeah,
can really
yes,
start
I do.
spreading.
Takes
Yeah,
me a
really,
long
I'm not
time. I go
kidding.
through all of this on I have a 2-hour
I
Skype
know,
call.
it's insane. It's actually insane, but I love
Yeah.
it. I love my YouTube channel. I love the people who are here. I love all of this. I love
Mhm.
being able to
Okay.
put truth into the world. And so with
Mhm.
that, I'll see you guys all on my next live. And